Dad's basement, fingers cold from hours on that old Dell tower. Dust was flying off every hard drive I cracked open. I was trying to find photos from our wedding, mine and Alicia's. She'd moved out 3 weeks ago, said she needed space, whatever that meant. I didn't ask questions then. I figured she just needed time to breathe. But that afternoon, that was the first time something actually felt wrong. I was digging through backups I made myself. 2 copies, one on a flash drive, the other on a portable hard drive from Best Buy. I checked both, twice. Every single wedding photo folder, empty. Not corrupted, deleted, completely wiped clean. I leaned over my laptop, hard in my throat, praying maybe I misnamed something. Then I opened my main photos folder. Gone. Even the MISC backup folder I'd dragged stuff into randomly. Empty. At first I just stared. Then I stood up so fast the chair slammed back against the water heater. Quick note. Before we get into it, share in the comments which city or country you're watching from. And let's continue. I grabbed my phone and stepped into the laundry room, shut the door with my foot, and dialed Alicia. She picked up on the second ring. What? Alicia, hey, sorry, just... Weird question. Do you remember touching my laptop before you left? Like, maybe to pull up wedding photos or something? She gave this tiny scoff. Why would I touch your laptop? They're gone. All of them. Wedding, honeymoon, even the ones with my mom. I haven't touched anything, she cut in. Seriously, you're being paranoid. Her tone was flat. No concern, not even a fake one. But they're gone, Alicia. I could hear my voice getting sharper. I had them backed up twice. Okay, then maybe you screwed it up yourself. I'm busy. Can we not do this? She hung up. I stood there, hands still on the phone, staring at the wall like it could explain something. Behind me I heard the stairs creak. My dad came down in his flannel pajama pants, rubbing his shoulder like it was sore. You all right, son? I turned the screen toward him. All the photos. Everything's gone. Even Mom's. He looked at the empty folders for maybe 3 seconds. Then he looked at me. Son, he said quietly, something's off here. I didn't move. My stomach was in knots. That was the first crack. Right there in Dad's basement, staring at folders that should have held every memory I had of the last 3 years, and I had no idea just how deep that crack went. I called her again that night. I couldn't let it go. She answered on speaker, which already told me she didn't care what I had to say. I could hear TV noise in the background, like she wasn't even planning to pause. Okay, can we talk seriously for a second? I said. This isn't nothing, Alicia. She sighed. We already talked. You think I deleted something? I didn't. Let it go. They're not just pictures. Some of them were the last ones I had of my mom. Yeah, and? Her voice didn't even flinch. She passed over a year ago. You can't keep obsessing over the past forever. My jaw clenched. You're really gonna act like it's no big deal? I didn't touch your files. End of story. Maybe you screwed something up when you were messing around with backups. You're not exactly a tech genius. That's when I brought up her brother. Tony was over last week. Remember? He came by while I was at work. Silence. Barely a second, but it landed. She said, So what? Was he ever on my laptop? Are you serious right now? She laughed. What? Now you think Tony's hacking your photos? Jesus, you're getting paranoid. Just answer the question. Number he didn't touch anything. You probably messed it up yourself. I was pacing by the garage door, phone tight in my hand. I could feel my heart beating in my teeth. From upstairs I heard Dad's boots coming down the hallway. He must have caught the tail end of that call. He stepped into the kitchen and looked at me, not saying anything until I hung up. You talking to Alicia? I nodded. She says I'm being dramatic, that I deleted them myself. Dad's mouth tightened. You said Tony was at the house? Yeah, last Tuesday. She let him in. He rubbed the back of his neck like something physically irritated him. That guy's a leech. Always has been. Something about him puts me on edge. I wouldn't let him near your laptop. I stared at the dark screen. I don't think he just used it, Dad. He raised an eyebrow. Then you better find out exactly what he did. The next day I called Alicia again. I kept it short. I'm having a buddy from work look at my computer. He does IT on the side. She actually laughed. Wow. You're that desperate to prove something? I just want to know what happened. It's a waste of money, but go ahead, she snapped. You're seriously acting like someone robbed your house. Feels like they did. Whatever. I don't have time for your little CSI episode. I'm late for a hair appointment. Click. That was her thing. She always had an exit. Always had a reason to cut the conversation when it turned real. But I wasn't letting this one go. That night, I pulled out the laptop and sat at the kitchen table under that ugly yellow ceiling light. I opened every folder again, even the hidden ones. Still nothing. No logs, no deleted cache, no temp files. Cleaned out like it had been professionally wiped. Alicia didn't know much about computers. But Tony? He'd done some tech repair crap in his 20s. Supposedly. I didn't trust him to fix a toaster. But now I was wondering if that job title was just cover for something else. The more I thought about it, the more the timeline fit. Every time she claimed she needed space, Tony just happened to pop back into our lives. She'd vanish. He'd show up. Rinse, repeat. I sent a text to Nate, the IT guy from work. You free this week? Something weird's going on with my laptop. Might need your help. He replied 3 minutes later. You buying the beer or the pizza? I sent back, both, because I needed answers, and I was done waiting for Alicia to give them to me. Nate showed up the next night around 7, carrying a laptop bag and a box of Little Caesars. He dropped the pizza on the counter, kicked off his sneakers, and headed straight for the kitchen table like he owned the place. All right, man, he said, cracking his knuckles. Let's see what we're dealing with. I opened the laptop and pushed it toward him. It's been wiped. Not just photos. Everything. I can't even find metadata. He raised his eyebrows. You're speaking nerd now. I'm proud of you. Just fix it, genius. He smirked, plugged in a USB stick and got to work. While he typed, I chewed through a slice of lukewarm pizza and tried not to stare over his shoulder like some rookie. After 10 minutes, his expression changed. His fingers slowed, then stopped. He leaned back. Okay. This isn't just someone deleting stuff. You got remote access sessions. 38 of them. I blinked. What does that mean? Means someone's been logging into your laptop remotely, like dialing in from another location using your saved passwords. I stood up. Since when? He spun the screen toward me. Here. Every login was during your night shifts or weekends you weren't home. I leaned in, scanning the timestamps. Wait, these dates line up with when I was staying at my dad's. Exactly, Nate said. They knew your routine. This wasn't random. Jesus, I rubbed my face. Can you tell where it came from? Already on it. He clicked through 2 more programs, then opened a command window. A couple lines of code ran, and he sat back again. There's your answer. He pointed to an IP address, matched it with an approximate location on Google Maps. It was Tony's house. I felt my throat tighten. You sure? I asked. Dead sure. I cross-checked it with your router logs and the ISP. This IP doesn't belong to you, and it's hit your system 38 times. And it's always from the same spot. Tony's place. Man's been inside your computer like it's his own diary. My palms were sweating. I stepped back from the table. What did he access? Nate clicked open a log file. Everything. Email, bank accounts, medical records, even your cloud drives. Not just downloaded, monitored. This guy watched you like it was a job. My stomach flipped. Medical records? He nodded. Yeah, fertility stuff. Your doctor's notes, lab results, pharmacy logins, it's all here. I backed up another step. My chest felt tight. Why the hell would he care about that? Dude, this isn't curiosity. This is surveillance. Nate looked me dead in the eyes. This is identity theft, not some tech glitch. You need to talk to a lawyer, or the cops. Probably both. I sat down hard. I let that guy in my house. I fed him. I lent him $300 when he said he couldn't make rent. Yeah, well, Nate muttered. He paid you back in full, with interest. I didn't say anything for a minute. Just sat there, fists clenched on the table, staring at the lines of code like they were mocking me. How long would it take to steal someone's ID with all this? I asked. Depends, he said. But with what I'm seeing, he's probably already tried. I stood back up. I couldn't sit anymore. My legs were twitching like I needed to punch a wall. Nate unzipped another section of his bag and pulled out a portable drive. I'm cloning everything right now. Logs, scans, activity. You'll have a clean copy for evidence. You need to lock down your bank, your credit, everything. Tonight. I nodded, grabbing my phone. Froze halfway through the banking app login. Can he see what I'm doing right now? Number I just disabled the remote ports. You're good for now, but don't waste time. I made the calls, locked the accounts, froze the credit, reset every password with two-factor authentication. I was on hold for most of it, pacing the kitchen while Nate finished pulling data. Finally, around 10, he packed up his stuff. Keep that clone drive safe, he said, patting the device on the counter. And call your dad. This is bigger than just a couple lost photos. Yeah, I will. He looked back at me from the door. You okay? No, I wasn't. But I'm not sitting on this either. He nodded. Good, because this isn't going to end with just files missing. Not with someone like Tony involved. When he left, I didn't even bother cleaning up. I sat in the dark, laptop off, clone drive in my hand. This wasn't an accident. This was planned. And it started a hell of a lot earlier than I realized. I was at Dad's by 8 the next morning, clone drive in hand, eyes bloodshot from zero sleep. He opened the door before I even knocked. You look like hell, he said. I got something you need to see. We sat at the kitchen table, same one I ate breakfast at growing up, and I laid it all out. Nate's logs, screenshots, timestamps, everything. He didn't interrupt once. Just leaned back in his chair with his arms folded, nodding every now and then. When I finished, he said, We're not sitting on this. Let's go to the police right now. That was it. No hesitation. No second guessing. Just move. We drove down to the precinct in silence, both of us tight-jawed, barely breathing. Dad walked in like he still outranked the building. We got paired up with Detective Laura Melton. Late 40s, sharp eyes, no smile. She didn't waste time with small talk. Took one look at the printouts and USB, then glanced up at me. This looks like planned fraud, she said. Not just identity theft. This is targeted. I felt my stomach twist. So what do we do? She stood up. First step, I need to talk to your wife. Now. She made a call. An hour later, we were at the apartment Alicia had been staying in. The second Alicia opened the door and saw me standing there with a detective, her whole face changed. Oh, wow. You brought a cop now? She said, fake laughing like we were playing some prank. Mrs. Taylor, I'm Detective Melton, the woman said, calm and flat. We need to ask you some questions about your brother and your husband's digital accounts. Alicia crossed her arms. Are you serious right now? You can either answer voluntarily, or we can get a warrant. Your choice. That shut her up. We walked inside. She perched on the edge of the couch like some hostage. Did your brother Tony have access to your husband's laptop? Alicia's eyes darted toward me. He may have used it once, but only with permission. I never gave him permission, I said. Her head whipped around. Yes, you did. You said he could check email or something. Bullshit. That never happened. Detective Melton watched us both, taking mental notes. Did you ever give Tony any of your husband's passwords? Alicia scoffed. Why would I do that? I'm asking you. No, she snapped. I didn't give him anything. The detective paused. Then how do you explain 38 remote logins using Mr. Taylor's credentials? Everyone traced to your brother's home IP address? Alicia froze. Detective Melton pulled out a notepad. We need full access to all shared accounts. Bank, medical, legal, utilities. Everything you've logged into together. I don't know half the passwords anymore, Alicia mumbled. That's okay, Melton said. We have the log files. Back at the station, she combed through our joint accounts with forensic software. I sat there, dead quiet, watching years of my life scroll past on the monitor. Then she stopped. Her mouth went tight. She opened a folder titled Shared Financials. Inside were PDFs, dozens of them. Some were mine, but some I'd never seen before. One caught my eye. Taylor Life Insurance Mother.pdf. Another. Deed Transfer Mom House Prep. What the hell? I leaned in. Those are my mom's papers. Detective Melton clicked them open. He copied everything. Life insurance, old mortgage statements, title records. He pulled them from cloud backups and email attachments. I felt something burn behind my eyes. She died a month after our wedding, I said quietly. I haven't touched those files since. She turned to Alicia. You didn't think this would get discovered? Alicia leaned back, arms folded again. I didn't take anything. It's his computer. Then explain why your brother uploaded forged authorization letters 2 weeks after these files were accessed. I don't know anything about that. Melton raised an eyebrow. You sure? Alicia glared at me like I'd done something to her. So now you're accusing me of stealing from your dead mother? You let him in, I said. You stood by while he drained every piece of my life. I didn't do anything. The detective slammed a folder closed. We'll verify that. Alicia looked like she wanted to run. She kept darting glances toward the door like backup might magically appear. But she was alone now. And we weren't. By the time we left the station, Detective Melton had a full copy of Nate's report, credentials to our accounts, and a growing list of red flags. Dad didn't say a word until we got in the truck. Then he muttered, "This goes way deeper than you thought." I nodded. We've only scratched the surface. 2 days later, Nate called me at work. His voice was tight. No jokes this time. "Get over here tonight," he said. "You need to see this in person." I was there by 6, standing over his desk while he scrolled through another pile of digital trash Alicia thought she deleted. "Pulled this from your Gmail's archive and cloud sync," he said, clicking open a chain of emails. "She didn't delete it right. It was all recoverable." There it was. Alicia's name, her Gmail, and a back and forth with some bottom-barrel attorney based in Arizona. Half the replies came from a Yahoo account under the name AM Legal Help, which already sounded fake as hell. Subject line, Power of Attorney Request. Urgent timing. I scrolled through the attached PDFs, my name, my social, my signature, but I hadn't signed a damn thing. I stared at the screen like it had slapped me. She forged power of attorney? Yep, Nate said, and that's not even the craziest part. He clicked again. A new document popped up. Credit card apps in your name. At least 5. Different banks. All submitted from her IP. I could feel my pulse in my jaw. She's building an identity under my name? Already built? He said. This one's worse. He clicked again. Check the beneficiary. I read it once, blinked, then read it again slower. A life insurance policy. Taken out just 2 months ago. Payout, $250,000. Beneficiary, Alicia Taylor. I almost dropped the mouse. She took out a policy on me? Yep. If you died, she gets paid. The room went cold. She said we couldn't afford dinner out, I muttered. Meanwhile, she's planning a retirement fund off my corpse. She wasn't just poking around, Nate said. She was setting this up step by step. Your mom's house, your accounts, your life insurance. She had a blueprint. I didn't speak for a full minute, just stared. The rage was starting to numb into something worse. "I need to talk to Detective Melton," I said finally. We met back at the station that night. I brought the printouts and the cloned files again. She listened, eyes sharp as ever. When I finished, she nodded. "This fits. Everything you're saying lines up with how these fraud rings operate. We've seen married-in setups like this before." "She did it on purpose," I said. "She waited for my mom to die. That house was left to me. Just me." "She knew," Melton said. "Your mom's will was on your cloud drive. So were the title documents. She and Tony accessed them weeks ago." Alicia got called in again for questioning. This time, I was there. We were in a small gray conference room with no clock and a single metal table. Melton laid out the folder like she was slapping down a dead animal. Alicia's eyes flicked over the pages, but she didn't touch them. "You want to explain this?" the detective asked. Alicia leaned back, arms crossed. "I don't know what that is." "It's a forged power of attorney form," I said, pointing at my own signature. "You know I didn't sign this." "Why would I want your mom's old house?" she snapped. I laughed. Couldn't help it. It came out sharp. "Because it's worth $300,000. Because you knew she left it to me. Because you were there when the will was read." Melton leaned in. "And because we recovered data showing you and your brother scanned Mr. Taylor's driver's license and social security card, then used those to generate a fake identity profile. You had everything you needed, except the deed." Alicia's face went stiff. She didn't speak. "You plan to walk into the bank and access the safe deposit box. That's where the original deed is, right?" I nodded. Melton stood up. "You and Tony were 2 steps away from walking out with everything. We have the timelines, the emails, the policy. We even have the geolocation tags from the credit card apps." "I didn't do anything," Alicia muttered. "You're done lying," I said. "You stole from me. You used my grief to set up a payday." She finally cracked then, just a little. Her voice turned low. "Your mom hated me. You think I forgot that?" Melton cut in, calm but sharp. "This wasn't about her. This was about control. And greed." Alicia didn't look at me again. She knew it was over. The detective collected everything into a thick folder and said she'd be sending it to the DA's office. She already had a request in for Tony's financials. I walked out of that room like I'd been hit with a brick. But I wasn't confused anymore. Now I knew exactly who I'd married. We were barely out of the precinct when my phone buzzed. I looked down. It was her. "Alicia, meet me at First Central Bank? Want to talk and maybe grab lunch?" I froze mid-step. My breath just stopped. First Central. That's where the deed is. The safety box. My mom's original will. The only physical copies. I turned the phone so Detective Melton could read it. She didn't hesitate. "She's going for it. Get in the car." We were moving before I could process what the hell was happening. She radioed for backup, gave the bank's address, and told them to move fast. I called my dad as we were pulling out. "She's hitting the bank right now. I need you there." He didn't ask a single question. Already grabbing my keys. We hit every green light like the road wanted justice too. Melton drove like a woman possessed. No sirens, no lights, just raw speed. 14 minutes later, we screeched into the parking lot. And there she was, through the glass doors of First Central, standing at the teller counter with a damn folder in her hand. She didn't see us right away. The teller, a younger woman in a maroon vest, looked confused, like something wasn't matching up on her screen. Melton pointed. "Facial recognition system. They upgraded last month. Probably flagged her. She doesn't have access." My hand was on the door handle. "Can I go in?" Not alone. She motioned for backup, who was already sliding out of an unmarked car across the lot. We walk in together. We push through the doors. Alicia turned just as we crossed the marble floor. Her face went from smug to white in seconds. She clutched the folder tighter and took a half step back, like she thought she could vanish. "Alicia Taylor?" one of the officers said. She blinked fast. "What's going on?" Melton stepped forward, calm as hell. You're attempting to access a restricted deposit box with forged documentation. I have power of attorney. She held up the folder like it was proof of innocence. Not according to the database, the teller cut in, still confused but firm. Her facial scan didn't match the authorized users. My dad walked in right behind us, silent, arms crossed, just stared at her like she was nothing. Alicia's eyes darted between us, me, the detective, the cops, and my dad. I just wanted to grab something for him, she said quickly. He told me it was okay. Don't lie, I said. That's my mom's deed, my will. You weren't invited, you weren't authorized, you weren't even clever about it. Melton reached over and took the folder from Alicia's hands. No resistance. Just that blank look of someone who ran out of script. Inside were printed versions of the forged power of attorney, the fake will, and a list of access codes, most likely scribbled down from old logins she got while spying. Melton gave one nod to the officer next to her. She's done. Wait, Alicia said suddenly, hands up. This is a misunderstanding. Tony told me he handled this. I didn't know the documents weren't real. You filed them, I snapped. You uploaded the applications. You forged my name. No, it was Tony. You worked together. We've got emails, logs, geotags, your voice on calls with the lawyer. She shut up fast. The officer stepped behind her and pulled her hands behind her back. You have the right to remain silent. As they read her rights, she turned to me one last time. You think your mom would have ever accepted me? You think she didn't set this up? I didn't answer. I didn't even blink. But my dad stepped forward. Glad she didn't live to see this. Melton didn't flinch. She knew what kind of person you were. That's why the house went to him and not you. Alicia didn't fight, didn't scream. She just walked out of the bank in cuffs like all the air had finally left her lungs. The teller looked at me. Do you want to access your box now? I shook my head. Not today. We walked out together, me, my dad, and Melton. Nobody said a word for a while. We just stood in the sun, letting it burn off the stench of what had just gone down. Then my dad muttered, That's the closest I've ever come to punching a woman. I looked over at him. Same. We didn't go straight home after the bank. Detective Melton wanted everything processed officially. So we followed her to the precinct, where she spread the folder out on the table, like evidence from a crime scene, which it was. She didn't say much, just pulled out one page after another. Power of attorney, will, identity forms, bank access sheets. My dad stood beside me, arms crossed, lips tight. Alicia sat across from us, uncuffed, but boxed in. She had this calm, smug tilt to her head, like she thought the paperwork would somehow save her. Melton picked up the power of attorney form first. These were filed with 2 different banks and uploaded to a shared Google Drive linked to your email, Alicia. Want to tell me how your husband's signature ended up here? Alicia shrugged. He gave me verbal permission. I stepped forward. Bullshit. I never gave you anything. You know damn well I never signed that. She leaned back in the chair. You said I could handle the paperwork for your mom's estate. No, I snapped. I said I'd take care of it. You volunteered and I said no. Then you did this behind my back. My dad reached across and tapped the signature. You forged this with a ballpoint pen and a copier. Looks like a teenager practiced it in the mirror. Alicia's smirk slipped for just a second. Melton kept going. She held up the fake will. Now explain this. It was a cheap scan pixelated around the edges. The font didn't even match the original. And right there, in bold letters, beneficiary, Anthony Morales. I blinked. You made Tony the heir to my mom's estate? She didn't answer. You thought that would pass? I asked. You thought some random notary stamp and a clip art signature block would actually fly? I was fixing what should have been fair, she muttered. What? She stood up fast. Your mom never liked me. She froze me out of everything. From the second we got married, I wasn't part of the family. She still called me that girl behind my back. You think I deserved nothing after all that? You deserved exactly what you earned, I said. And you earned this. Melton motioned to the officer by the door. Alicia Taylor, you're under arrest for identity theft, document forgery, and attempted financial fraud. She snapped. Are you kidding me? I put up with years of his whining about his mom, his dead-end job, his bad credit. I cleaned up after his life and you're arresting me? You cleaned out my trust, not my house. She lunged forward like she wanted to slap me, but the officer stepped between us. You people are all the same, she hissed. Protecting your precious little legacy. You never saw me. You never gave a damn what I wanted. You wanted to own everything, I said. You didn't care about me. You cared about what came with me. Melton calmly handed the cuffs to the officer. Tony's next, she said. We already have a warrant. We've got records of financial conversations between you two. You weren't subtle. Alicia's whole face changed. Panic now. Tony didn't do this alone, she said quickly. He made me. I didn't even want to do it. He pressured me. Said it was the only way to get ahead. My dad just shook his head slowly. Melton kept her cool. That's a story for your lawyer. You don't understand, Alicia said, trying to twist toward me again. He made me fake the will. He said we'd both go down if I didn't help. You did help, I said. And now you'll both go down. As they cuffed her, she started crying, or pretending to. I couldn't tell anymore. She looked at me like I was supposed to step in, like this was the part where I'd get soft. But I didn't move. Neither did my dad. He stood there, silent, just watching the scene unfold like he'd seen it coming since day one. As they let her out, she screamed over her shoulder. You're nothing without your mom's name. That house, that life, it was never really yours. Nobody flinched. The door slammed shut behind her. I turned to Melton. She done this before? Melton nodded. We're already contacting 2 other jurisdictions. Looks like this wasn't her first run at inheritance fraud. 2 ex-boyfriends filed reports years ago. Nothing ever stuck. But this time she went too far. My dad finally spoke. Just one line, low and bitter. Glad your mom didn't live to see this. We got back to the house around 8. It was quiet except for the ticking kitchen clock. I dropped the file folder on the table and sat down like the whole day had just caught up to me in one punch. My dad poured 2 coffees without asking, then dropped into the chair across from me. The silence wasn't peaceful. It was the kind that lets your brain go places you don't want it to. I opened the folder. Inside were the digital logs Nate printed, all 42 pages. Login timestamps, IP addresses, device IDs, download histories. Everything Tony accessed, everything Alicia tried to delete. I flipped through page after page, each one heavier than the last. She was already doing this before she moved out, I said. Before she said she needed space. Dad nodded. Of course she was. I thought she was just upset, confused, maybe burned out. He sipped his coffee. She was lining up the last step, had to clear the legal access before making her move. I stared at the sheet in front of me. One of the entries showed a login to my medical portal. She used my saved password to pull fertility records. She even checked the fertility results, I said, louder than I meant to. She knew everything. Down to the day we stopped trying for a kid. Dad didn't speak. I sat back, arms crossed tight across my chest, the chair creaking under me. She told me once that maybe I wasn't stable enough to raise a child. That was after our 3rd failed IUI attempt. I looked up. She wasn't just planting doubt. She was setting the stage, in case she needed to take everything. Dad finally leaned forward. I knew something was wrong with her. Had that look, like she was always 2 moves ahead, even when she smiled. Calculated eyes. I didn't argue. Not this time. She told me she loved me, I said. Held my hand at Mom's funeral. Said we were family, just the two of us now. And the whole time, she was mapping this out. You were grieving, Dad said. That's what she banked on. Your silence made her job easier. Jesus, I muttered, shaking my head. She used everything against me. My grief, my loyalty, even the fact that I trusted her enough to stop asking questions. That's the long con, Dad said. She didn't steal your money. She stole your time, got you to drop your guard so she could gut you when it counted. I closed the folder. Couldn't read anymore. Was I blind? I asked. No, he said. You were honest. And she weaponized it. I looked around the kitchen. Same walls, same fridge, same busted drawer that never stayed shut. I'd brought Alicia here a dozen times, let her into this house like she belonged, and the whole time, she was just taking inventory. I stood up, paced a little. She watched me cry over my mom and thought, that guy's weak enough to control. My dad watched me but didn't interrupt. She even filed a note in one of the insurance apps saying I had mental health issues due to unresolved family trauma. That's why she thought she could get away with claiming power of attorney. She was laying a trail. I slammed my hand on the counter. How the hell did I miss all of it? Because you're not like her. Then maybe I'm just stupid. No, he said flatly. You just assumed people loved you for the same reasons you love them. That's not stupid. That's being raised right. I sat back down, jaw clenched. He pushed the coffee toward me again. There's a reason your mom left everything to you, he said. She saw the same things I did. She didn't trust Alicia. That woman never fooled her. I let that sink in. I think that's why Alicia hated her so much, I said. She knew she couldn't break her. So she waited, took her shot after she was gone. Dad looked down. Some people aren't interested in love. They're interested in leverage. And you gave her all of it without even knowing. The room was dead quiet again. Then Dad added, you believed she loved you because you loved her. You gave her everything and she saw that as weakness. I nodded slowly. And I still feel like an idiot for not catching it. He reached over and tapped the folder. You caught it now. And that's what matters. I didn't respond right away, but I didn't argue either, because he was right. And I finally knew what I was looking at. 2 days after everything blew open, Nate texted me. Found something. Check your Dropbox archived files folder. You'll know it when you see it. I opened the link on my phone. My heart stopped. There it was, a photo I didn't even remember taking. Me and Mom outside the church, right after the ceremony. She was laughing, holding my arm like she never wanted to let go. I was mid-sentence, looking down at her with that dumb grin I only ever wore around her. She looked alive, full of life. And for the first time in months, I didn't feel empty. That night, around 11, my phone rang. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail, but it rang again. It was Melton. Tony's in custody, she said. Tried to access a financial account tied to one of Alicia's exes. Got flagged instantly. Guy never learns, I muttered. Well, he's learning now. FBI's stepping in. Turns out this thing's bigger than we thought. Alicia and Tony weren't working alone. There's at least 3 other cases just like yours in different states. I leaned against the wall, staring out the window at the streetlight. What happens now? They'll get federal charges. But Alicia's already folded. She's pleading out. How long? 6 years. Tony's getting 9. I didn't say anything right away, just nodded into the silence. A few days later, I sat across from Alicia's parents. They invited me to talk. They tried the guilt angle first, said I overreacted, said I painted her out to be a monster. My dad was with me. He pulled out the logs, the emails, the arrest record, the plea deal. That shut them up. They didn't apologize. But they didn't say another word either. I walked out of that house and never looked back. I started therapy a week later. Not for Alicia. Not even for Tony. For me. Because after everything, I still kept wondering how I didn't see it. How I let her crawl so deep into my life without ever questioning her motives. Turns out trust isn't the weakness. It's forgetting to trust yourself. A month later, I stood alone in front of my mom's old house. The porch still had her wind chime hanging up. The rose bush she planted had overgrown the walkway. My name was still on the deed. The house was still mine. I unlocked the front door and stepped inside. It smelled like dust and old paint, and something warm underneath. It smelled like home. I didn't bring much. Just a mattress, my laptop, and a box of clothes, and one photo, the one Nate recovered. I framed it and set it on the mantel. Not because it was from the wedding, but because it reminded me of the exact moment everything still felt real. Before the lies, before the schemes, before I got played. That photo wasn't about Alicia. It never was. It was about me and the only person who ever saw me clearly. You don't always get justice, but sometimes you get your damn name back. What would you have done if you caught your partner faking legal documents to steal your inheritance? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read everyone. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more real confession stories.
YouTube picked this for you. Tap it. Let's see if they guessed right.